Hello, welcome to my manga collection video for 2022. It's been about, I think, 8 months since I've last done this and shown my entire collection, so I'll just say this is going to be a long video, so buckle up, and I'll start with a few frequently asked questions. First, all of my shelves are from Target except one, the Cube shelf. They are the $35 white basic shelves. I'll put them in the description. I have been collecting manga for about 8 years, so this did not happen overnight, obviously. In total, I have about 700 volumes in my collection, counting omnibuses as one volume, and there's about 100 volumes that I have not read in my collection. So those ones I will probably gloss over more, but for everything else, I'll be giving a brief description of the series, but if you have any additional questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll respond. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So initially, I'm just going to give a quick overview of these two shelves. You have not seen this large shelf on the right yet, since the last time I did a tour or anything about my shelves, but as you can see, they're already quickly pretty filled up. But we'll start over here. Sorry the lighting is not the best. This corner of my room is quite dark, so this is the best it's gonna get, but I'll try my best to minimize the glare, etc. So the first series I have that you can see is obviously Haikyuu. So my channel is named after Haikyuu. I love Haikyuu. Essentially, it's a volleyball series about the main character Hinata Shoyo learning how to play volleyball, love volleyball, after being inspired by seeing a player on TV at the high school nationals from the school that he decides to go to in high school. Overall, this series is very inspiring. It's a sports manga, so it has all the sports manga things if you like that. Lots of character development, action, just great characters in general, and I highly recommend it. It is kind of like the gateway sports manga or anime, I think, to anyone really. It's a good one to start with to get into the genre. Even though it is quite long, you can also read it on somewhere like the Shonen Jump app. And then next to Haikyuu is another one of my favorite sports manga, Kuroko's Basketball. So Kuroko's Basketball, as the title implies, is a basketball manga about the main character Kuroko entering high school and joining the school's basketball team, but he has an interesting past with his middle school basketball team where all of the members are sort of prodigies at basketball. And in high school, he kind of has to face them one by one and face his past and the issues they had back then. The only thing about this series I would warn is that the basketball is not necessarily realistic. They have somewhat supernatural powers, but I think the most important part of the series is the characters and the development and the relationships between the characters. So if you don't mind some sort of unrealistic basketball, I would highly recommend this. I love this series. And it's another one you could read on Shonen Jump app if you don't want to invest in the volumes, because I did not want to invest in the volumes either for a long time because I don't think they're very aesthetically pleasing. Like, even compared to Haikyuu that has almost all the same spines, I think the inclusion of, like, the characters makes it better, while Kuroko's Basketball is just very plain. And then moving on to this next shelf, we have some of my all-time favorite series. So let's start with A Silent Voice. A Silent Voice pretty much is my all-time favorite completed manga. I think the story is pretty well known. It's about a girl who is deaf and her childhood bully, but there is a time skip where now the bully is trying to reconcile his past, asks for forgiveness, and basically show that he's a better person than he was before. And it's just a really touching, really emotional series. I really love it. I've reread it so many times. My copies are kind of beat up due to the fact that I've traveled with them, manhandled them pretty much, and I just really love the series. And it's one I always recommend when people ask me how to get into manga or even anime, since it's just a movie you could watch. I think everyone could get a little something out of this, even if you don't necessarily enjoy it. I think it's an impactful story and an important story to read for everyone. Next we have Nana, which I haven't actually read the manga for this because I'm waiting to get more volumes. They're currently reprinting this series as it has been out of print for a long time, but I do love the anime, and from that I would give a synopsis that there's two girls named Nana, they end up moving in together, and it's just a dramatic romance series about their lives, potentially triggering topics. I will include all the trigger warnings for these series in the corner right here in text because I don't want to sound like a broken record repeating a lot of these things, but Nana is definitely a mature series even though it is in the shoujo beat line, and I'm excited to get into the manga once I get at least up to volume 5. As you can see, I only have 1, 2, and 21. And then next to Nana, I have one of my all-time favorite shoujo series, Love Com or Lovely Complex. I am still searching for volumes 15 and 16. I don't think I had those either last time I did this, but essentially this is a romance series in high school between this really tall girl and this really short guy, and they're kind of like a friends to lovers relationship, but they're also kind of rivals. They just have a really funny dynamic. This is a funny shoujo manga, and that'll be a pattern you see in my collection. I can only really stand funny shoujo manga, so this is one I would highly recommend if you could even find the volumes. I know a lot of them are hard to find. So this is probably one of my most prized possessions in my collection, and I'm glad that I have as much as I do of it, but I don't think I'll ever get those last 2 volumes. Maybe in 2022 I'll be able to. And then next to Lovecom, probably my favorite josei series, Wotakoi, Love's Hard for Otaku. Now this series is one that I always come back to. I reread this a lot, and I think that's a testament to how much I like it. It's a slice of life story about adult otakus in the workplace. It follows 3 couples, and I think it's just a really funny, refreshing series. It's slice of life. Nothing serious is going on, but the couples are so endearing, the characters are so endearing. I highly, highly recommend this. Actually, I highly recommend pretty much everything on my shelves. I don't like to keep things I don't like, so pretty much everything on here is curated to my tastes, and I highly recommend it, so I'm gonna stop saying that. I don't want to repeat myself. But Wotakoi is amazing. I love it. I would probably recommend maybe watching a little bit of the anime first, because the story was originally a webcomic that didn't really have a coherent story, so it might be confusing if you don't know the context. Like, each little chapter is very random and they're not in a linear order, so that might put some people off to the series, so that's why I would recommend watching a bit of the anime so you know the base story and you can enjoy some of the randomness that is in the first couple volumes. And then next to Wotakoi, technically not a manga, of course. Lore Olympus is a webtoon. It's a retelling of Hades and Persephone. I'm not really into Greek mythology. I was not a Percy Jackson girl, nothing like that. But I think this story is really special. I love these editions that they came out with. I have the normal volume and then the Barnes & Noble exclusive cover. But you can read this on Webtoon for free. It's much longer than this first volume they put out. I don't know how often they're going to come out with them, but I think the first volume covers like the first 25 chapters and there's like 200 chapters right now. So, and here's the Barnes & Noble cover. I actually like the normal cover better. That might be an unpopular opinion, but I just wanted to have both volumes because I am a weirdo. I am a completionist like that. Next, I have probably the rarest manga in my collection, Wandering Sun. So Wandering Sun was my favorite manga of all time at one point in my life when I was a teenager. Basically, it is about a transgender child who is just growing up and figuring out their sexuality, their gender, and navigating relationships in this space, and just coming of age, puberty, stuff like that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this one because I haven't read it in a while and I want to reread it with the perspective of someone who is an adult now and I know a lot more about transgender issues, so I wouldn't feel confident in recommending this until I reread it. But at one point in time, this was my all-time favorite manga, so that must count for something, but these editions are really beautiful. It's a shame that they never finished printing this in English and that these volumes are out of print. That's why they're all wrapped and stuff. They are very kind of fragile too, so I don't want to get them messed up or yellow, but when I reread the series I'll obviously take them out of the plastic. And I will update my thoughts once I do so. Next we have The Girl with the Sampuku Eyes. This is a very, very cute, innocent shoujo manga. Like, if you just want a cute, fluffy, mindless read, I recommend this. No drama, no conflict, just cuteness. And this manga is actually in all color. It looks really beautiful. The colors pop a lot, and I really like this release from Denpa, so not the best thing ever, but the art pretty much makes up for it, and the color, it's just a cute one. Nothing more I can say about it. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing amazing, but it's a cute read, if you're interested. Another manga that is in color, My Senpai is Annoying. So this one is like Wotakoi, an office romance comedy between the senpai at work, this taller man, and this really short girl who is new to the company. Really cute slice of life. Nothing really has happened on the romantic development. It's kind of just funny situations. He is very oblivious to her feelings. And it's just cute, wholesome fun. Much like The Girl with the Sampuku Eyes, but I do like My Senpai is Annoying better because they are adults. I tend to like manga more about adults than I do about high school or middle school children. And speaking of high school children, My Dress Up Darling. This is a ecchi manga for 18 plus only, and it's about cosplay. This girl on the cover here really likes cosplay, but she doesn't know how to sew, and she meets this guy who does know how to sew and do makeup, and they strike up a friendship. Another slow burn romance, there's not much in the development of that, but this is so cute, so wholesome. Even though it is an ecchi manga, this is probably one of the most wholesome relationships I have in my collection. They're very encouraging of one another, and it's just cute and wholesome. Not much more I can say, but I highly recommend this. The anime is also coming out, like, today. I think the first episode premiered, so hopefully they do a good job with that to garner interest in the series. And hopefully they don't make it too weird, because it really is not weird. The most, like, etchiness that is in it is, like, some panty shots and bra shots when she's changing in and out of her cosplay and getting measurements and stuff like that. So hopefully they don't make it weird, but I highly recommend the manga if the anime is not a good adaptation. Just read the manga. Next is My Androgynous Boyfriend. This is another adult romance between a man and a woman, and the man is just really into fashion and hair and clothes and makeup. He's a social media influencer as well, so that makes the story more interesting in my opinion. And I'm liking this one so far. I've only read the first volume, but I think it depicts a good, healthy adult relationship. Not really an LGBT plus commentary or anything like that. The guy just likes makeup and hair and fashion. He's a straight guy, and that's okay. So yeah, I really like this one. I'm excited to read more of it. I'm always down, like I said, for an adult romance, slice of life, whatever, just seeing how they interact. I like those kinds of manga a lot, even though some people might find slice of life boring, but I like to read manga that I can connect myself to, see myself in the situations, so that's why I like to read stuff like this. I'll gloss over this one, A Sign of Affection. I haven't read it, I just picked this up, but all I know is that it's about a girl who has some type of hearing disability and this guy who takes an interest into learning languages. So he wants to learn sign language, and it is set in college, so I'm excited to read this. I have read Hibi Chocho by the same mangaka, but they also do Shortcake Cake, I believe. Next we have Made in Railways by Asumaki Nakamura. This is a short story collection centered around a train station. Not my favorite thing ever, but I do love Asumaki Nakamura as a mangaka, so I kind of want to collect all her works. This is one of the only things I've kept in my collection that I thought was kind of but the completionist in me wants to have it. So yeah, I think this was okay. Nothing amazing, but it was a cute, fun, short read, if you're looking for a one-shot. Technically 2 volumes, but collected in this one omnibus, so kind of like another one-shot Haru's Curse. Now this one is about a girl whose sister passed away, and her sister's fiance and her decide to date after the fact due to various circumstances, and you learn their motivations throughout the short story. So it's a take on the forbidden love genre. Even though they're not related, they were connected in the past. So I thought it was an interesting read. Pretty good for like a short series, so I'm keeping it in my collection. It may seem pretty dark because it does deal with the aspect of death, but I think this was more of like an introspection into grief and moving on and longing and stuff like that. So I think it was a pretty good little one-shot 2-volume thing. And another thing I haven't read yet, The Book of Human Insects by Osamu Tezuka. This is the only Tezuka work I have in my collection. The one I want to start off with, I recently got this. And all I know is that it's like a psychological horror, murder, story, one-shot, commentary on fame, I believe. So I'm excited to get into this. And then moving down my shelf, we are getting into a majority of my LGBT plus titles. So Blue Flag is a high school drama romance series involving sort of a love square that is not all heterosexual relationships. And that's all I'll say about that because I don't want to spoil anything, but overall the series was really beautiful, really impactful. Especially for a shonen manga, I think it delves into a lot of topics that are not normally discussed in shonen, and I thought it was a really good series. Another short one that I'm really happy I read. Next is the Kase-san series, which is probably my all-time favorite girls' love series. It's just a cute, fluffy, wholesome, high school, typical romance series. It doesn't seem that special, and honestly, it's not that special, but just the execution, the characters, the relationship, it's just cute and wholesome, and if you want something cute and wholesome, I highly recommend this. No significant drama, nothing weird happens. It follows them into college as well. So you see this couple, you follow them through their ups and downs, growing up, going through life, and I think it's really cute and really special. Whisper Me a Love Song's one I haven't read yet. All I know, it's about a girl in a band and a girl who's kind of like a fan or something. It gives me Given vibes, but with 2 girls. I Think Our Son is Gay is another really good LGBT plus story that I like. It's from the mom's perspective where she thinks her son might be gay. He doesn't want to pressure him into coming out or anything like that, but she's trying to provide a safe space for him to feel like he could talk to her. And it's just a really cute, wholesome series. As you can see, I like my wholesome series. And I think it's really well done and kind of a different perspective on the whole issue of coming out and stuff like that. And I like the mom's effort. and just the relationship she has with her son. Donuts Under a Crescent Moon is a adult Yuri series where the two main girls work at the same company. This girl is sort of confused as to why her relationships with men haven't been working out, and she also has a lot of self-doubt issues, self-worth issues that she needs to work through before getting into another relationship. But so far it seems like it'll be a slow burn, kind of learning to love yourself and then learn others type story. I'm really enjoying it so far, and great to see an adult girls love series. Sweet Blue Flowers is by the same mangaka as Wandering Sun. I read this way back in the past, like scanned, and I don't remember much about it, so I'm looking to reread it, but I believe it's just another high school girls love series. But this one has a lot of drama, if I'm remembering correctly. They go to like an all-girls school, and I think there's a theater production involved, something like that. So I'm excited to reread this and update my thoughts, as it's been a while since I read this, maybe like 5-6 years, something like that. Next we have My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness and the sequel, My Solo Exchange Diary. I'm not going to show the covers because YouTube might get mad at me for these, but basically this is an autobiographical manga by the author about her experience hiring an escort service because she is not comfortable really in romantic and social situations. She has a lot of things going on in her life, including mental health issues, eating disorders, and she wants to see if kind of intimacy may help with those issues, and she just wants to explore a side of her that she never has before. And it's really good, really deep/dark, introspective, hit me in a lot of ways, and I highly recommend it if you can stomach some of the topics I will list in the corner, like I said before. Next we have Boys from the Riot, which is a story about fashion, and this transgender boy in high school who really likes fashion. Is the only way he can kind of express his masculinity, and he meets this other boy that is also into fashion, and they decide to start a clothing brand. And so far it's really good. It's going to be a 4-volume series, so not a long commitment. Discusses some transgender issues, and I think it's really cute and inspiring, albeit a little bit cheesy at times, but I still like it for what it is, and I appreciate that it's being published in English. My summer review is a one-shot volume that they're releasing a volume 2 to, so I think it was like popular enough that the mangaka continued the story, but it's basically about two guys bonding over movies, and it's just a really cute, fluffy one-shot, a little bit of drama, but it's resolved at the end, and I highly recommend this. I like, as we can tell, cuter LGBT plus stories. I'm not one for like super explicit or anything like that, and I think this was a cute one. Next we have something I recently read, Ten Dance, and I don't know how to feel about this one yet. I'm gonna give it like one more volume try, but essentially it's about two ballroom dancers. One is the champion of standard and one is the champion of Latin, which are like two completely different styles, and they're trying to teach each other's style so they can enter this competition called the Ten Dance, which is like you're the master of every single type of dance. And they don't necessarily have an enemies to lovers type situation, but kind of like a rival, very playful, sassy relationship. Like a lot of sexual tension between these guys, but nothing explicit has happened. I think this is published in a seinen manga magazine, so it might not be allowed to be super explicit or anything like that, but definitely a very, like, I would say sexy manga. Like, they're dancing, especially the guy that dances Latin. It just evokes that kind of atmosphere, and I don't know if I am a big fan of the dynamic that the two have. That's why I hesitate to recommend this, but I'll probably give it a couple more volumes try. Because I always like when a sports element is thrown into something, no matter what it is. If it has some type of sports, something, that'll make me want to give it a try / like it more than I would if it didn't have dancing elements. And then we have Paradise Kiss by Aizawa. This is by the author of Nana as well. I love this story. It's a 5-volume. You can get it in this one shot. And it's basically about fashion and this group of kids from this fashion school that recruit this girl to be their model on the street. And it's just a whirlwind of drama and fashion, coming of age, finding out what you want to do in life. There are a couple LGBT plus characters, that's why I have this on the shelf, even though their portrayal is a little bit outdated since, as you can see, this is an over 20-year-old series, but I still like it regardless. We are getting down into the catacombs a little bit down here, so I apologize as it gets darker. But continuing with my LGBT plus titles, first we have Sasaki Amiyano, which is a really cute high school BL. This guy really likes BL manga, and he kind of starts sharing it with this upperclassman after he saves him from this sort of bullying situation. And it's just cute and wholesome fluff. I kind of took it too seriously in the beginning, so I didn't enjoy it as much, but as I read on and just accepted the cuteness and the wholesomeness, I really started to like it. This is also getting an anime this season, but overall just a cute fluffy BL story. Another BL story are Not So Lonely Planet Travel Guide. This is a story about two adult men that are traveling the world, and after they finish this trip, they are going to get married. And you can kind of see some cracks in their relationship, so I think the journey around the world is going to determine if they stay together, to see if they can work out some of their issues, mainly due to their personality. One of the guys is very shy and timid and not very out, as Japanese culture is still a little bit closed-minded on LGBT plus issues, and then his partner is kind of the opposite of that. Very loud, very outgoing, so their dynamic is interesting, and I'm excited to see how this relationship plays out. I think Volume 2 comes out in like February or sometime in January as well. Next we have Given, very popular BL series about these four guys that are in a band and their relationships in this band. The main character is recovering from a traumatic relationship, and I think that is the best part of this series, kind of his healing journey. But there are some aspects of the series that I don't like, such as the other couple that is in the band. But hopefully it gets better. I'm going to try this Volume 6 to see how I like it. But if you're curious about what I didn't like about the series, it's pretty much the events of the anime movie. I was not a fan of that couple's dynamic. So yeah, I like Given, but I'm not like in love with it. It's one of the series that I've grown attached to some of the characters. That's why I hesitate to let it go. But it's probably one of, I would consider, the worst things in my collection. Because like I said, everything else that I have, I really truly love. So even if I just like a series, it might kind of pale in comparison to a lot of the other stuff I have. So this is one I'm considering dropping if I don't like the 6th volume. But for now, it's staying in my collection, and I really do love Mafuyu as a character and Uenoyama. I like their relationship a lot. Next, we have Bloom Into You, which is probably my second favorite girls' love series. It's another high school one. Basically, the student council president ropes this girl into being in the student council, and their love evolves from there. The student council president is a bit pushy in her emotions, and the other girl is quite apathetic, and she believes that she may be asexual throughout the series as well, so she's kind of navigating that and her feelings towards love and sexuality. And I think it's really good. It's a really good exploration into this, and I think it is quite a unique girls' love series. There is a explicit scene at the very end, if that bothers you, but other than that, pretty cute, pretty wholesome. White Rose and Bloom is another girls' love series by Asumaki Nakamura, and so far there's only one volume of this out. The second volume has been pushed back so much, but it's about a boarding school in Europe, and these two girls are the only ones that have to stay at the school during winter break, and they grow closer from there. It's good so far. I'm excited to see where it goes. Nothing amazing yet, but I just really want to see the second volume. It's been a while since I read this first one, but I like the direction it's going in, and I like this first volume. And then next to that is my probably favorite all-time BL series, Classmates by Asumaki Nakamura. Again, it's just a high school BL about these two guys, seemingly opposite in personality. One is more of the quiet, studious type, one is the more outgoing, loud, delinquent type. And at least in these first 3 volumes, their relationship is very wholesome, very cute. There is a creepy teacher involved, so be warned of that, and that's why I won't be picking up Volume 4, because it centers around said creepy teacher. But Omnibus for Volumes 5 and 6 should be coming out here soon, and that's a short story collection which features some stories of these two, and then after that, the sequel Blanc is the best part so far in my opinion, focusing solely on their relationship. So I'm excited to see if Seven Seas gets that far, but I truly love this series with my whole heart, and I highly recommend it. I think some of these volumes are a little hard to find right now, but I'm sure they will come back in print eventually. Our Dining Table is a really cute one-shot, adorable, made me cry out of like wholesomeness and cuteness, and it's just about this guy who is kind of an office worker, and he cooks food for himself, and one day he runs into these brothers, and they start a relationship focused around food. And it's just really cute and wholesome. One of the cutest things I've ever read. Highly recommend for anyone. This is kind of the gateway I would recommend people if they want to get into BL, because it's not super in-your-face BL. It's just cute, wholesome goodness. And there's a little kid, like, what more could you ask for? I really like this one. Steering away from the wholesomeness, even though we're adults, this is by Takako Shimura, who does Sweet Blue Flowers and Wandering Sun, and this is one centered around a married woman who cheats on her husband with this other woman who she meets at a bar one night, and the repercussions of cheating, pretty much. So, very interesting manga. Not necessarily a romance, like you're not rooting for this couple, but it's an interesting exploration, I would say, into like cheating and the dynamics and lesbian relationships in general and coming to terms with sexuality, comp het, stuff like that. Another one-shot, Go For It Nakamura. I think this one is actually getting a sequel soon, but I thought this one was okay. It's basically about this guy in high school who really admires his classmate, but he's too shy to even like talk to him, and it's his little journey of trying to talk to this guy. Not even confess his feelings, just straight up talk to this guy. It comes off a little tiny bit stalkerish in the beginning, but I thought it was cute overall, and the art style is really interesting. It kind of gives a very old school vibe to how the characters are drawn. And I'm interested to see the sequel, and if I don't like the sequel, I'll get rid of this one. It's not one that I'm very attached to. I didn't love it, but I did like this. These next 3 titles I have not read, so I can't say much about them, but The Two Lions, this is by the author of my summer review, so I picked it up. It's another rated teen BL. I don't think anything goes on, and I think one of them is a delinquent and one of them's more of a shy type, kind of like classmates. I like that dynamic. I like delinquent manga in general. I wish there was more of it published in English so I could read it. And then Boy Meets Maria. I've heard this one is very sad, very dark, potentially triggering, so I haven't read it yet. I gotta psych myself up for this one. And then Blue Giant. This is not LGBT+, but I just put it here because it fit here. But this is about a guy who discovers jazz and just his journey to become the best saxophone player. And I do play the saxophone, so I don't know why I haven't started it. I've had this in my collection probably the longest. This is probably the thing I've had unread in my collection the longest, so I really need to just start it, because it sounds like something I would love. I love music manga, anything about music. And then at the very bottom I have these series. I'm gonna bring them up to a lighter shelf so I can show them better. Okay, so down at the bottom there, the first series I had was number 6. So this is a sci-fi dystopian world series about this guy who learns that the place he lives in is very corrupt, even though previously he had been living kind of in the upper crust, very privileged lifestyle, and he sets off to kind of discover the corruption of this government and this place that he lives in. It is an LGBT+ story, but that is not the main focus of it. The main focus is the sci-fi, taking down the government type aspects, and it's really good. I really like this series. Next we have The Daily Life of High School Boys, which is a slice of life comedy 4-com series about a group of these guys in high school just doing dumb stuff. If you want a relaxing, very cute, comedic, short, pick up whenever you want type read, I recommend this. I really like this. The humor is just really stupid, and that is my kind of humor. As we see more of my comedy manga in my collection, you'll see the trend. I just like stupid stuff. Eyeshield 21 is a football manga. I haven't read much of this, I think only like 2 or 3 volumes. And it's about this guy who's really short and runty, but he can run really fast, and he gets kind of coerced into joining the football team because of that. He was originally going to just be the manager, but they roped him into being in the team. And so far, it's just very wacky, lots of colorful characters. And I'm excited to see how it goes. This is by the author of Dr. Stone, which is one of my favorites, and you'll see more of my shonen manga later. So I think I'm gonna like this as I get more into the series. Spirit Circle, one of the only fantasy manga I have in my collection. This is a story about reincarnation. I won't say much more, not to spoil it, but this story is very good, superb, very short. It's only 6 volumes, but I love this. The ending wraps up really nicely. All the characters are good. The mystery aspect is good. The fantasy aspects are good, even though it's not my favorite thing. I like this a lot. And it was probably one of the most surprising things I read in 2021. I didn't think I would like this at all, but it very pleasantly surprised me. Tomo-chan is a Girl is a very funny romance series between 2 childhood friends, and the girl is kind of a tomboy, and her crush has never really taken her seriously, as he just sees her as like one of the bros, and it's her journey into kind of getting him to notice her in more of a dateable, crushable light. And it's really cute, really funny, another really funny romance series. I highly recommend this. Kaiji is the seinen manga about gambling. Basically, this guy ends up accruing a bunch of debt due to his friend who left him out to dry pretty much after co-signing like a loan with him. And he is offered to get a trip on this ship to gamble and try to repay his debts basically on this ship. And so far it's pretty interesting. A lot of mind games, psychological warfare type stuff. So I'm excited to read more of this. These releases are really slow by Denpa, but I'm liking what I'm reading of this so far. Next, I'll kind of speedrun some series I haven't read. The Case Study of Anita's, a vampire mystery story, I believe. Picked it up because the covers are gorgeous pretty much, even though it's not a series I would typically read. Become You, a random volume 1 I have. I think I got it to get free shipping one time. It's by the author of Orange, and it's a music manga, so I figured I'd like it. The Flowers of Evil by Shuzo Oshimi. I ordered the rest of this in the Right Stuff sale. It hasn't come yet, so I haven't started it because Shuzo Oshimi's works are very fast. I'm probably going to fly through this really quickly once I start it. I've only read Inside Mari of his other series, but I'm excited to get into this. All I know, it's like a dark series centered around manipulation in high school. Banana Fish is a shoujo manga about gangs and drugs and violence, and I really want to read it. I'm just waiting for more volumes to come in. I've ordered the whole series, but it's been over a year and my volumes haven't come yet, so that's why I haven't read it yet. The anime is on Amazon Prime. I've seen a bit of it just to see if I would like the series, and from what I've seen of it, I really liked it, so I'm eager to get into the manga once I finally get more of the volumes. And then lastly for this shelf, the My Hero Academia character guide. I haven't read this yet, but I love My Hero. You'll see my Hero later. And I just randomly picked this up because I thought it was cool, and I'm eager to read it when I'm in the mood for a little My Hero Academia, because the physical volumes come out really slow for this, so sometimes you need a little something in between. Even though there's a bunch of other spin-off series and stuff like that I could be reading, this is what entranced me the most. I don't know why I picked this up, but I don't regret having it in my collection. Okay, that is my whole first shelf. Here's an overview once again. And then now we are moving on to my second shelf that's right here. Okay, so at the top here I have all my Japanese and my Spanish manga, and I'll bring them down to here to show them better. Okay, so the first series I have in Japanese only is Kimutiboku. This is probably my favorite slice of life series. It's about a group of boys in high school who have been friends since childhood, and this transfer student kind of comes into their life and shakes up their friend group and their dynamic and the routine that they've been used to all their lives. So it's just a really cute slice of life. There's some romance aspects, some drama, but overall just a cute, wholesome slice of life series. I love it. I love the art. I love the characters. I love everything about it. And there's also an anime for this one, but no official digital or physical translation in any other language than Japanese, I believe. So that's a shame. Next we have Kids on the Slope, one of my all-time favorite manga. It is a music manga set in the 60s in Japan, focused around jazz. Another slice of life drama series, romance series about these group of kids and just their lives, their drama, stuff going on in their home life. And music is kind of the thing that ties it all together, makes it all better, lets them forget about their issues at home, and it's a really lovely series. I like it a lot. Not published in English, but they have it in Spanish and a couple other languages, I believe. I highly recommend this, and the anime as well. Next I have Diamond Ace, a baseball manga centered around this main character, Samuel Agent, who is scouted to play baseball in Tokyo, and his team is not an underdog team. They're like a very established team, and the main plot is that he's trying to become the ace of the team, which is the star pitcher. So he's kind of more in conflict with others on his team rather than like rivals and trying to get to the top. So I think that is interesting in that regard, and I really like the series. It's dragging on a bit. There's Act 1 and Act 2, which is like the sequel series, but I like it for what it is. Definitely not my favorite baseball manga, but it's the only one I own because not much baseball manga is even printed in English. But I do recommend Diamond no Ace, and the anime is good as well for this one. On the sports manga trend, we have Days, which is a soccer manga. My favorite soccer manga might be overtaken by Blue Lock. They just announced that that's getting a physical in English, which is so exciting. But basically Days is just about this wimpy kid who starts up soccer. He's not very athletic and stuff like that, but he's inspired by this other player. And it's his journey from then on. Very cute, very wholesome. I have been using those words a lot to describe pretty much everything in my collection, but that's what I like to read. So, cute, wholesome, coming-of-age tale. Typical sports manga stuff. Action, tournament arc, stuff like that. Highly enjoyable if you like sports manga and soccer. And then the last series that I only have in Japanese, this is Rainbow Days, and it's a shoujo series from the male's perspective. It's about a group of guys in high school and all of their romantic relationships. They all kind of have archetypes, like the nerdy boy, the playboy kind of guy, stuff like that. But I think it's really cute. This one also has an anime. Pretty wholesome. Most of the couples are wholesome. And I really like this series. I wish it was printed in English. I think a lot of people would like this. And then to go over some of the other stuff I have on here, I have like a volume of Haikyuu from when I was in Japan. That was like the most recent volume. The Haikyuu final like character guide. A volume of Love Me Love Me Not in Spanish. A Durara volume. Some more Kids on the Slope in Japanese. A Boku no volume in Japanese. And then over here I have the first volume of Hunter x Hunter, some Crocus Basketball, some spin-off Crocus Basketball, the Bakuman character guide, and then a bunch of Yaopeta stuff. This is a anthology spin-off. And then Spare Bike, but speaking of Yaopeta, as we see the next shelf, I'll just talk about it here. So if you're familiar with my channel, I'm pretty sure everyone knows I love Yomushi Pedal. It's probably my favorite manga of all time. I'm obsessed with this. This is the Loot Crate exclusive volume 1, and then I have all the other volumes in the background. But essentially this is a manga about cycling. The main character, Onoda Sakamichi, he's an otaku. He gets to high school and he wants to join the anime club, but there's no more anime club because there's not enough interest. So he gets roped into joining the cycling club, and it's just him becoming a very good bicycle racer and kind of making friends, character development, lots of characters, lots of rivals. This is just the perfect series in my opinion. I love it if you love sports, if you love action, if you like drama, if you like comedy, if you like coming of age. It has everything in here. I adore this. The art is very unique, but I love it. And the series is very long. It's up to volume 73, I think, in Japan. And Yen Press is not very good about keeping these volumes in print, so that's why I hate to recommend this, because I know it's very frustrating to get into the manga, but the anime is also good if you want to try it out that way. Feel free to chat with me about this, send me a DM when you're watching it or reading it. I'm always down to talk about this. I love Yaopeta. Pretty underrated. I wish more people liked it, so more people could talk about it with me, and they would probably print them faster and keep them in print if more people like the series, but I'm just obsessed. I love Yaopeta. Everyone knows this by now. I am the #1 Yaopeta advocate. If you take one thing from this video, read or watch it. And then if you are already a fan of Yaopeta because you have very good taste, I recommend Spare Bike. So Spare Bike is kind of a side series based on the characters that have graduated. So after the first arc of the series, a bunch of characters graduate, and it follows their lives in college and what they're doing. Not all of them are in college, but honestly, this is such a treat. Like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to Yaopeta on the side series, and I adore it. I love it. The third years that graduate in the first arc are some of the best characters in the series, so it's really cool to see them grown up in college. Some of them end up on the same teams that were, like, not on the same teams before, so it's very interesting dynamics. This you have to read scan. There's no official translation to it. I don't think there ever will be, but this is glorious. I love Spare Bike. Almost more than the main series sometimes. I am just obsessed. I love Spare Bike so much. Every time a new volume of this comes out, it's like Christmas. I don't even know what to say about this. Spare Bike is so good. If you like Yaopeta, you need context for it. Obviously, I would start it after the first Inner High. If you're around this area, I think that's a good place where you can start Spare Bike, if you're interested to know about what the other characters are doing. And then moving down, I'll kind of just gloss over this shelf because it mainly contains a series I haven't read, but as you can see, Yaopeta kind of bleeds down in the corner over here, so eventually this will probably be another Yaopeta shelf. But the other series we have on here is Pandora Hearts. I just got this, so I have not read it. I will be honest, I was enticed by the limited edition box set. I know almost nothing about the series. I've heard a couple people say it's really confusing, but I've also heard that it's like a masterpiece and really good, so I'm excited to get into it. Not normally a genre I would read, but I'm intrigued to say the least. And then in the corner over here, I have all my art books. I'm not going to go over those today, but if you want like an in-depth art book collection tour, let me know. I have stuff from Kimutiboku, Yaopeta, obviously, some old GN stuff, some magazines, whatever. They're just here right now. As I said, this will probably be another Yaopeta shelf eventually, and they're kind of just chilling there. It's a good home for them for now. We have some more of my shoujo series, and most prominently, Kimi ni Todoke volumes 1 through 30 complete. I'm currently reading this. I'm on volume 13, so I'm almost halfway through. Really enjoying this so far. It's just a cute, wholesome, fluffy shoujo manga. It may seem very basic, but it does everything right. Nothing weird, no significant drama, no weird tropes. Just a basic love story. Very cute. I think the side characters make this. There's a lot of really cool side characters. The main couple's friends are really cool. And it's just a cute, slow burn, very slow burn. It takes until volume 10 for them to even get together, but really cute, really wholesome. I'm enjoying it. It's just a fluffy read. It's a feel-good read. It makes you feel good when you read it. And then we have my love story, which is one of my all-time favorite shoujo series. Very cute. It's about kind of a guy that's not stereotypically handsome and this girl that falls for him after he saves her from being molested on the train. And it's just their relationship and their progression, and it's really cute. And opposite of Kimi ni Todoke, they get together quite fast. But it's just them navigating their first love, first relationships. And I also really like the side characters in this manga, especially his best friend Suna. He goes through it. He has to put up with their antics and their love, and it's really cute and wholesome, and I really like it. And then next to it is something by the same mangaka as my love story, High School Debut. Now this one, I love, love, love. It might be my favorite all-time shoujo, tied with Lovely Complex. It's a really cute high school love story about this girl who wants to get a boyfriend in high school, but she's kind of a tomboy and wants to conform to what she thinks boys like, and this popular guy is sort of roped into helping her come to terms with how to love yourself and that you're okay just the way you are. It seems very basic and cliche, but it's an amazing story. It's extremely funny. So is my love story. It's really funny, and I highly recommend it. Kind of underrated, but I think I've talked about it enough on my channel to get some people interested in it, which is always my goal, to get people into my underrated faves. And then moving over a bit, sorry for the wonky angles, but Toiletpan Hanako-kun. It's a fantasy story about this girl named Nene, and she goes to school, and her school is haunted by these 7 mysteries. And the first one she encounters is this kid named Hanako, who is a ghost of the toilet, if you are familiar with the Hanako story. But she gets roped into being sort of his assistant, and they get put through these situations where they have to defeat these mysteries, and it's really good. As you can tell from the cover, the art is just probably the best part about the series, but the story is really good. Starts out really comedic and then gets darker in tone as you progress. Has to do a lot with the afterlife and death and coping with that, and why these spirits haven't moved on and why they're haunting the school. So really interesting, really good. Highly recommend this. Even though it's not normally a genre I would read, I really like it. My Love Mix-Up, probably one of my new favorite shoujo titles. This is a love triangle, love square story, once again, from the first volume, but it's all due to a misunderstanding, and it's just hilarious. Really funny. It's by the same artist of My Love Story, so as you can see the theme, I just am obsessed with everything having to do with My Love Story high school debut. This is just really good so far. It's going in the BL direction. I know there's a drama for this that is considered BL, so I'm excited to see how the story goes. I'm itching to get the next volume. It's on its way to me, and I just really like it so far. Really funny. And if it continues to be just very funny and wacky and wholesome and cute, I think I'm gonna love it. And then another recent fave, Skip and Loafer. So this one is about a girl who is from the countryside, and she gets to the big city, and she's kind of navigating how to fit in the big city, because it's not what she's used to. So far, it's not really a romance. She meets this guy who is trying to help her, wants to be her friend, and I think it's gonna be more about the main character learning to grow in this new environment, coming of age, slice of life type thing, which is my favorite thing, as we've established, so I'm really excited for more of this. This is also a funny one so far. My Love Mix-Up and Skip and Loafer are definitely probably the 2 favorite romance series I started in 2021. The ones that pleasantly surprised me the most. And then once again, we have some stuff at the bottom here that I'll move up higher so we can see it better. So next we have Let Me Not by Io Sakisaka. It's a shoujo series. A very interesting one, has some interesting dynamics between the characters, to say the least. Not my favorite thing ever, to be honest, but I'm kind of just too invested at this point, and I want to see the ending because I'm almost at the end. So yeah, something that I would not necessarily recommend. I don't even know if I'm enjoying it at this point, but I kind of just want to see the end, and then I'll probably sell it after that. But something I do really love and enjoy, Genshiken. So this is the first omnibus, and I have the rest of the first season, and this is a adult comedy series about a group of otakus in college at this club that they call the Genshiken, that is for anyone who likes cosplay, video games, anime, manga, etc. And it's just a really funny slice of life, raunchy comedy with really good characters, very relatable situations, and I really love it. I'm hoping to get the second season in the new year, but it's about kind of a new cast of characters after the original cast graduates. But I have seen the anime for the second season, and I enjoyed it as well, so I think I'm gonna love the manga. Springtime by the Window is a very basic shoujo story, just about childhood friends who can't really admit their feelings for each other, even though they both like each other. And this is a really short one. It's only going to be 2 volumes, so I don't mind reading it. I'm going to get the next volume. I thought it was cute. I liked it. I laughed. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't the best thing ever. Next, we have The God's Lie, and I don't remember liking this one that much. I've had this in my collection for ages, but I think it was like supposed to be a romance story, and then there's like a weird twist at the end, so I need to reread this and determine my feelings, but I remember not liking it that much, to be honest. Next, we have The Garden of Words. I don't remember liking this one that much either. I need to reread it and determine it. But this is adapted from a movie, and every time something is like adapted from a movie, I find that it's not that good. So I don't know why I have this. It's one of the earliest things I've had in my collection, like The God's Lie, that I just haven't gotten rid of for some reason. But another series that I really do enjoy, Rainbow. Now this one is probably the most different thing I have in my collection. It's a very dark, very sad seinen series. Historical seinen about this group of kids in a prison after World War II in Japan. And it is just probably one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever read. Not available in English, but if you want to see the anime, I'm just warning you. I cried every single episode of the anime. It is just so sad and terrible, but really good. Like, given all those things, it is probably one of my all-time favorite manga. Really good, really dark, really depressing, quite bleak, but I think there's some really good messages and lessons in this. And I highly recommend this, if you can handle some of the topics discussed. And then I'm going to speed run some stuff I haven't read. The bottom shelves are kind of most of the time for stuff I haven't really read, but first volume of Yona the Dawn, just waiting to get more volumes of this because the first, 20 volumes are always out of stock. It's a shoujo action historical series. I think I'm really going to like it, but once again, I'm just waiting for more volumes. Monthly Girls and Saki-kun. I love the anime for this. I've watched the anime so many times. I've ordered the whole series and just waiting for them to get to me. It's about this guy who is a mangaka in high school. He writes a shoujo manga, and he takes inspiration from his daily life, pretty much. And it's just a comedy, slice-of-life manga, and it's really good. I mean, the anime is really good. I have not read the manga, but I imagine the manga is also good. Dead Man Wonderland, one that is just out of stock right now, so I can't get more volumes, and I don't really want to start it until I have more volumes, so all I know is this one is also about a prison, but I think there's like some fantasy elements. I'm not sure about that, but I heard the anime did like a botched ending of this, and to read the manga instead, so that's why I had the manga first volume. And then I have Library Wars. This one was recommended to me, and I did not realize that some of the volumes are out of print, so another one I don't want to start until I can find some more. That's why I have like 1, 10, 15. I'm not sure if I would even like this, but I trust the people who recommended it to me, so I think I'm gonna like it. All I know it's about like a society where I think books are banned, or their job is to like guard libraries or something because they're always under attack, something like that. And then I have 2 series from Aizawa that are not printed in English. Neighborhood Story, which is a prequel to Paradise Kiss, and I'm Not Your Angel, which is another high school drama romance series, I believe. Aizawa is kind of the master at that, but I'm just trying to get more volumes of these. I did not realize that they were like kind of out of print / hard to get. They're both collected into 4 volumes, and as you can see, I only have volume 4 of this and volume 3 of this, so I'm working on it, and hopefully I can read these soon because I'm really excited to read them, and I love Aizawa. So I think she has one other series printed in Spanish, which is Marine Blue, so I might try to get that as well. So this is one last overview of this second shelf, and can you believe that we are only about halfway through to this collection tour? So if you need to take a break, get a snack, take a sip of water, please do so. I will do so as well. And the last thing in this area of my room at the very top is the Ouran box set. So Ouran is a shoujo series about this girl named Haruhi Fujioka who enters this really rich elite school on scholarship because she is very poor, and one day she stumbles into the host club at the school and accidentally breaks one of their vases, so she has to start working as a host to repay that debt. And shenanigans ensue. It's pretty much a comedy series. The latter half actually ramps up the romance a lot. And overall, this series does have a lot of issues. I've talked about that in multiple other videos, but it is quite a nostalgic one. I think a lot of people can agree this is a very nostalgic series for them. And I enjoy it enough to keep it in my collection, but not the greatest thing ever, of course. Just one that I like to keep around and chuckle at a bit sometimes, revisit it. Hello, it is the next day, and this is my other bookshelf we'll be going over. At the bottom here, I just have a bunch of figure boxes, but other than that, let's get into it. So up here, we have some of my longer running shonens. First, My Hero Academia. This is a pretty popular series, but if you're unaware of the plot, it's basically a superhero series where these kids go to this school to train to be heroes. They all have powers called quirks, and the main character is born without a quirk, but through events of the story, he gets one, and it's his journey to becoming the #1 hero. I think this is really good. People might call it basic or boring, but especially the recent arcs are superb, so I highly recommend if you're interested at all in the plot that I just stated. Next, we have My Hero Academia Vigilantes, which is a spin-off to My Hero about some, like, underground heroes. It's by a different author, but the world is connected to My Hero canonically, so I haven't gotten that far into this one, but I'm liking it so far of what I read, and I'm excited to get into more. This is the one My Hero spin-off people say is, like, superb, and that they recommend after they've read, like, all of them. So if you're looking for a side series to My Hero, I would recommend this one. And then next to that, of course, we have Hunter x Hunter, another classic series that doesn't really need an introduction, but it's about this guy named Gon, and he's trying to look for his father who disappeared as a child, and to do that, he has to become this thing called a hunter, which is basically like a adventure type thing. So it's a long journey with lots of twists and turns, fantasy elements, friendship, action. It's honestly hard to explain to someone who doesn't know what the series is about, but regardless, highly recommend. I love the series, I'm obsessed. I've watched the anime a bunch of times, read the manga a bunch of times. Other than the parts after the anime, because I'm still waiting on my volume 33, but other than that, I love the whole rest of the series in any form. And then we have 2 shonen titles I have not read. Yu Yu Hakusho, I'm trying to collect this one because it's by the same author as Hunter x Hunter. I know nothing about it. Same with One Piece, I saw this in like a half-price books and I picked it up because everyone tells me to read One Piece. And maybe one day I'll probably read it on Shonen Jump, most likely, since it is so many volumes, but it's there for when I ever do want to start it. And then another shonen title by Clover. This one is a magic series about this guy who doesn't have any magic, and he wants to be the Wizard King. Very typical shonen plot. I've only read the first couple volumes of this, and from what I've read, it's enjoyable. I like the characters, I like the setting, I like the world, but I am curious to read more of this eventually, probably on the Shonen Jump app as well. Next, we have the main series featured on this shelf, of course, Beastars. If you are familiar with my channel, you know I love Beastars. Gearing up to be my favorite all-time series, depending on how the rest of it goes, but essentially it's about a world where animals can talk, carnivores and herbivores are trying to coexist, and the main character goes to this high school where one of the herbivores gets murdered in the beginning, and they're trying to solve the mystery of that, but there's also action, comedy, romance, psychological elements, lots of stuff in this manga. And I'm in love with it. Truly a gem in my collection. Don't be scared off by the premise. I know some people judge it by its cover. Don't judge a book by its cover. Cliche thing to say, but this is one I would say applies the most to that sentiment. And then next to that we have some volumes of Blue Period, which is an art series about this guy who doesn't really have direction in life. He discovers art and goes all in on this and wants to try to go to art school. This one has an anime coming out. I've heard the anime adaptation ended up not being that good, so I'd recommend the manga. Very good, introspective, finding your passion, following your dreams type thing. Barakamon, this is a series I hope to complete in 2022, but that's like a long-term goal because a lot of the volumes are out of print, but essentially this series is about a guy who is a calligrapher. He moves to this small island to kind of get away from the city life, and he meets all the island people, especially this little girl, and it's just a slice of life comedy. Again, kind of following your dreams, reigniting your passion, stuff like that, but it's a really good, wholesome slice of life series, in my opinion. From the anime, I've only seen the anime for this one. Witch Hat Atelier, have not read this one either. All I know is it's a magic series with really gorgeous art, hoping to get into this one soon. Bokurano R is one of my other favorite series, actually. This is a very sad mech manga about children. Children die in this, lots of trigger warnings for this one. Another one with some hard-to-find volumes that I'm working on, hopefully this year. But I really like this one if you want a psychological human drama with mechs. Kind of an interesting perspective on this one. Next we have kind of my little Higashimura shelf. Starting with Princess Jellyfish, this is a series about a group of women who live in this boarding house and they're all otakus in their own right. And one day this man comes into their life who shakes up their whole world pretty much, and the story basically follows them trying to create a fashion brand to try to save the dorm that they live in because it's planned to be demolished to become a shopping center or something like that. It's really good, coming of age story, but the characters are already adults, so it's interesting in that respect. And then Blank Canvas is an autobiographical manga by the mangaka, and just details her life, her journey through art school and wanting to become a mangaka, stuff like that. Really good if you're looking for something autobiographical. I apologize for the angle here, but moving down we have more of my shonen stuff. Starting with Dr. Stone, of course, another staple on my bookshelves, one of my favorite series. Basically about the world being turned to stone, and like 3,000 years later, people start to break out of this stone, and one of the people that breaks out first is the main character, Senku, who is a very, very smart guy, and if anyone's set out to rebuild the world, it's him, and it's just his journey of rebuilding this world, conflict, about morality of who should live, who they should revive, who should die, how they should run this new world, stuff like that. And also the mystery of why everyone got turned into stone. So it's really good action, comedy, mystery, shonen series. I highly, highly recommend this. I love this. Also has a lot of science elements, which is near and dear to my heart, as I am somewhat of a scientist myself. Next we have Chainsaw Man, a very unique manga that has been taking the world by storm. The anime's coming out soon, which is going to make it even bigger. But essentially, it's about this guy named Denji who dies, and his pet devil possesses him, and it gives him the power to turn his limbs into chainsaws, pretty much. And he is hired to defeat other devils if he wants his life to be spared, because technically he is now a devil himself. And it's just a wacky, crazy, dark, gory adventure. I'm only like 3 volumes in, but I plan to binge all the rest of it when the last volume comes out. It's only an 11-volume series, but I'm enjoying what I've read of it so far. It's just a wild, crazy, dark story that is very popular in the community. I think pretty much everyone I know likes this, so you can't really go wrong with Chainsaw Man if you can stomach some of the more gruesome elements. Next we have Assassination Classroom, another one of my favorite series. Basically this alien teacher has come to take over the world, and the class is tasked to killing him before he does so. And the story is their journey of training to become assassins, but also learning life lessons from this teacher, growing close to this teacher, forming bonds with him. So it's a very heartwarming, wholesome series, but there's also action and violence elements. Really good, I really love this one. It'll make you laugh, make you cry, the works. And then we have Spy Family, one of the most popular series right now. Like Chainsaw Man, also getting an anime soon. Not much I can say about this one, it's just really good. It's about a spy who needs a fake family for this mission he's carrying out, and the wife he chooses ends up being an assassin, and the daughter he adopts ends up being a telepath. So funny situations ensue. Mostly a comedy slice of life, but there's also action elements. And if you like anything about spies and missions and undercover families / like fake dating type stuff for the romance side, I highly recommend this. Pretty much everyone I know likes this as well, like Chainsaw Man. You can't go wrong with Spy Family. And then next to that we have Gintama, which is a series I'm attempting to collect the full of. I'm about like 3/4 of the way there, but this is a very renowned comedy series, not fully printed in English unfortunately, but it's basically about this samurai named Gintoki in a world where aliens have invaded and outlawed samurai, so he kind of has to do odd jobs to get by, and it's just a bunch of wacky situations. Very funny, very comedic, but then they have those couple episodes where there's drama involved, and it just makes it much more impactful because of that, and I just really love the series. I love the anime. I have not read much of the manga, but I've seen like 300 episodes of the anime, so I think that counts for something. And then moving to the last shelf on this shelf, we have BL Metamorphosis, which is a very cute slice of life female friendship manga about an old woman and a high school girl bonding over the love of BL manga. Like I said, really cute, really wholesome. A short series, only 5 volumes. I highly recommend this one if you're just looking for a cute, nice, relaxing read. And then this section is kind of a mess, but it's the Durarara light novels, and then some of the manga, and then the sequel light novel. But essentially, Durarara is my favorite anime of all time. It's based off a light novel, and then the manga came after the anime and the light novel. So I will admit, the manga is not the best thing ever, which is usually the case on light novel adaptations, but this series is just near and dear to my heart. I would highly recommend the anime. I have not really gotten into the light novels because some of them are hard to find, but essentially this is a series about a part of Tokyo called Ikebukuro, where some kind of urban legend type stuff is happening, but also lots of involvement of gangs and violence and stuff like that, and it's just a masterful series. I really love it. Love the music, especially in the anime. I actually have the soundtrack, the OST that I usually have in front of here, but I highly recommend it, but not necessarily the manga. And then the Heroic Legend of Arslan, this is by Arakawa, who does Full Metal Alchemist, but essentially this is a historical war fantasy series where the prince of this kingdom gets taken over, and he has to go on a journey to get his kingdom back, pretty much. Pretty basic, like, fantasy war stories, kind of like Game of Thrones vibes, but this is really good. The only thing of this genre I have in my collection, but I really like it. The art is gorgeous, of course, by Arakawa, and it's adapted from a novel series, but she is adding, like, her own twists and stuff to it. So I really like it, and I'm excited to read more of this. So yeah, one last overview of this, and then at the very top I have the Bakuman box set. So Bakuman is basically a series about creating manga, kind of meta, and it's just these two teens' journey to becoming mangakas. One does the art, one does the story. A really good look into how Shonen Jump works, and this is also by the creators of Death Note, so obviously they have experience in Shonen Jump, and I really love the series. Very long, very wordy, so you gotta be up to reading some stuff if you want to read this. But overall, I highly enjoy it. One of my favorite mangas. And now we are moving on to my last shelf. The overview looks like this, and let's zoom into the cubes. So continuing with some more Arakawa stuff, obviously we have Full Metal Alchemist. Another one I don't really have to introduce. One I don't actually really know how to describe, but essentially it's about these two brothers trying to get their bodies back after a alchemy accident. I haven't read much of this one because I'm waiting for more of these beautiful Fullmetal editions, but I'm liking what I'm reading so far. I know I'm way late in the game into getting into this one, especially considering how I like all of Arakawa's other works that I've read. Like Silver Spoon, and Silver Spoon is a slice of life series about this guy who moves from the city to the countryside to go to a boarding school focused around agriculture. So it's him learning a lot about agriculture and just changing his perspective in life, meeting these characters from different backgrounds than him, and it's mainly a coming-of-age slice of life story. Really good. I really like this one. Has some elements of like butchering and stuff like that because they are raising animals for food and stuff like that. So if that triggers you, stay away from it, but I thought this was a really wonderful series and I'm glad that we have it in English. And then the next queue has all of my Natsume Onna stuff and Silver Spoon bleeding into it, but House of Five Leaves is a samurai story, the only samurai story I have in my collection other than Gintama if you count that. But essentially this story is about a samurai who loses his job because he doesn't look scary enough, and he gets hired by this guy who runs kind of a shady business, so he gets roped into that world because he needs a job, so he reluctantly agrees to get into this, and it's just a adventure action series. I am not that far into this one, but I'm liking what I'm reading of it so far. And then we have Rystarante Paradiso. I have not read this one. All I know is it's like a slice of life introspection type thing about these employees at a restaurant. I think there's a sequel series to this one. But my favorite work of Ono's is probably this one-shot Not Simple. It's a very, very dark, very depressing story, not really any happiness to be found in it, but it's really good. It got me thinking. I still think about this, and it's probably been like a year since I read it. But it's basically this guy's journey across the world trying to find his long-lost sister. And then lastly, of my Natsume Onna stuff, we have Aka 13. The anime is really good for this one. I haven't collected more of the manga since they're expensive. They're from Yen Press. But this is kind of a dystopian world type thing. Think Hunger Games, like how the world is set up. But they're trying to find a mystery about like a coup d'etat. Someone's trying to overthrow the government type thing, and the main character is like the lead investigator in this. But he's very morally gray, and you can't tell if he's really on the enemy side or for the government. So it's really interesting. I really liked it. The anime, at least. I'm excited to read the manga as well. And then we get to my shelf for one of the goats, Taiyo Matsumoto. I'll start with Sunny. This is a really good human drama about a group of kids in an orphanage and just detailing their lives and how they got to this point, their family lives, how this affects the kids in the long term, stuff like that. Probably one of my all-time favorites as well. And I love Taiyo Matsumoto's art style. I know it's pretty divisive, but I think it's beautiful. And then we have Ping Pong, my all-time favorite sports anime. I think the adaptation is better for this one, but the manga is also very good. It's basically about ping pong, these guys in high school coming to terms with ping pong, their relationship with the game, how they let it affect their lives. More of a psychological human drama piece rather than a sports series, but really good nonetheless. I really love this one as well. One I haven't read yet, Tekken Kenkri, know nothing about it. I feel it's best to go into Taiyo Matsumoto's works not really knowing much about it, but I've heard this one is highly acclaimed, so I'm excited to read it. And number 5 is his newest serialized series in English. Haven't started this one yet, but I'm excited to get into it. I have loved everything from Taiyo Matsumoto I've read so far, so I think I'm going to like all the rest of his works, and that's kind of a goal of mine to collect all his works printed in English. I think I'm only missing Go-Go Monster and I think Blue Spring, and then I'll be complete. But obviously he has a lot of other works out there in Japanese. Next we have the start of my Naoki Urasawa stuff, starting with 20th Century Boys, a very good mystery series about a cult and kind of childhood fantasies coming true. Won't say much more since it is a mystery story. This was one of my favorite reads of 2021 if you've seen my best and worst manga of 2021. I highly enjoyed this. First work I've read of Naoki Urasawa, and I don't know if I'm glad that I started with one of his best works, but I am glad that I read this. I'm only missing Omnibus 2. I read that from the library when I was reading this. Sorry I haven't really mentioned like the exact volume numbers I have. I figured y'all cared more about the content than like what specific volumes I had. Unless I was wrong about that, I'm sorry. And then more Urasawa stuff, we start with Monster. This is one I have not read yet. I'm trying to collect all the volumes before I read it. 20th Century Boys, I actually had them all at once. I read it all at once, and I think that was a really enjoyable experience. So I want to do the same with Monster once I can get more volumes of it. All I know is it's a murder mystery involving a doctor. And then his newest series, Asadora, this one's about a little girl who is caught up in a disaster, and they're trying to figure out what caused this. And I've only read the first volume, but to my knowledge, it's about a kaiju. So a little bit of a different take on Urasawa's stories, but even from the first volume alone, I can see a lot of influences from 20th Century Boys. And I'm not super hooked on it yet, but I'm obviously gonna read the other 2 volumes that I have. And then another one I haven't read, just trying to complete the series before I read it because this is a shorter one. We have Pluto. I think this is another murder mystery, but involving robots. I know a lot of my friends say this is their favorite Urasawa work, so I'm excited to get into this one when I can. I always trust Viz will reprint his stuff, but it's a slow go, definitely. And then we get to the very last cube. This is some of my comedy manga, my most favorite comedy manga, Arakawa Under the Bridge. This is a series about the main character who falls off this bridge and he lands in this river. This girl saves him, and he wants to repay her any way that he can, and she wants to experience love, so they start living together under this bridge and dating because she is homeless. And it's just a very wacky comedy. I would akin it to something like Gintama. If you like Gintama, you will like this humor. It's just absurd, funny, with some wholesome romance moments thrown in, but overall just a really wacky comedy story, and I love it so much. And then in the back here, the very last series of my collection, Hinamatsuri. This is another comedy one about a Yakuza member and a little girl who has powers, pretty much. They form a father-daughter relationship due to some circumstances, and it's just really funny and wholesome, and I love this so much. So yeah, that is my whole manga collection. And let me give you one last overview. So this is one last overview of this shelf. So yeah, thank you for watching. Like I said, if you have any other questions, let me know in the comments. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you stick around this long. And again, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.